It's Talk Sports 1140 KHTK.
Big news out of Green Bay yesterday. Of course, Aaron Rodgers staying a Green Bay Packer. And joining us right now from ESPN is Rob Demovsky. Of course, Rob writes about the Packers for ESPN NFL Nation. As always, Rob, I appreciate your time. Were you all surprised that Rodgers decided to return to the Pack?
Not totally surprised, Nick. I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised had it gone any of the ways, retire, return, or play somewhere else. But as we got going in this offseason, it seemed to me like it was more, he was going to play here or play somewhere else, and retirement really seemed to be off the board. And we haven't heard from him yet, so we don't really know exactly what the tipping point was or the thought process. But all along, really since about the middle of the season, he kept talking about how appreciative he was for how things have been handled with the Packers this year,
right,
and just how much he enjoyed it all. So, it would have been, I guess, a little surprising had he gone somewhere else. But I guess, with Nate Hackett getting the job in Denver, I could have seen anything.
Rob, did the Packers really have any other choice from their point of view but to try to bring him back, given the circumstances, the cap number, the fact that he's the reigning MVP? Did they really have any other choice?
No, they wanted him 100% all in. They were everybody. From, not just the coaching staff, which the coaching staff always wanted him back, even last year. The front office may have been, a little bit like take him or leave him when he was going through all the problems that they were having with him last off season. But, once he came back and, obviously won the MVP, played really well, it was, it seemed to me from everybody in the organization, it was top on down that they knew he was their best chance. Now, do they also know that he needs to play better in the playoffs? Absolutely. But as far as, their best option to be a contender again, they all, to a person in that organization, knew it was better with Rodgers than without him.
ESPN's Rob Demovsky with us here on the Nick Cattle Show, Sports 1140 KHTK. Any idea on the structure of the deal, Rob? I know Rodgers tweeted out yesterday that he hadn't signed anything, and the deal that was talked about isn't the deal. Could we be dealing with a yearly Rodgers decision, even though this contract sounds to be a multi-year deal?
Yeah, no question. The structure of the money will tell us a little bit about that. But, yes, it could be, it could easily be a thing where they could get out, either side could get out after any of the years. The one thing we do know, Nick, is that it will help their salary cap. Right now he's counting $46 million against their cap, and that just was an untenable number. They couldn't build a team with that as the number. So they're going to lower that, or they maybe already have. We just haven't seen it. And then they're going to be able to do some more things. Now they're going to have to cut some more guys too, and restructure a bunch of deals. But, the one thing that I do know about the contract is it will lower his cap number for this year.
I know he said he wanted a seat at the table, and reportedly, and even Rodgers himself has said that he's had more of a seat at that table. But when it comes down to it, Rob, was this really about money? I know going back a year or two ago when all this stuff started, one of the things that was written about was Rodgers was looking for a big-time, big fat extension. Was this really just about money at the end of the day?
There's probably a good percentage of it was about money, and not just the actual cash dollars, but what the money represents, and the money representing that I am the best quarterback, that they are committed to me, even though they drafted Jordan Love. Yes, it's about the dollars, but it's also about what the dollars represent.
Right.
And it's just like with any receiver. Like Devonta Adams wants to be the highest paid receiver in the NFL. Now, does it matter, that it's $25 million or $27 million? No, it's the idea of having the label as I am the best. I am the highest paid at my position. I'm the highest paid at my job. And it's a pride factor as much as anything. But, yes, that all goes back to the dollars.
ESPN's Rob Demovsky with us here on Sports 1140 KHTK. Just a few more for you, Rob. Again, thanks for the time. Was Devonta Adams a prerequisite to a Rodgers return?
I'm sure it was a big part of it. And, look, they were going to tag Adams either way. They were not going to let him just walk out the door and not get any compensation or any fair compensation in return. But, Rodgers is probably waiting to see, if they could come to a long-term deal with Adams, which obviously they haven't yet. But yeah, I mean, look, if Rodgers wasn't in Green Bay this year, whether it meant retirement or playing somewhere else, I highly doubt Devonta Adams would be playing for the Packers in 2022.
All right, so now we look at Jordan Love, a guy who's been sitting behind Rodgers now for a couple of years. Does this officially mark the end of his stay as a Packer?
Well, I don't know what you do with him right now because I don't know that he's got a lot of trade value. I mean, quite frankly, he has not played very well in his two, appearances when it's mattered. The Kansas City game where he played the whole game, and then the Detroit game where he basically played the second half. If you're another team and you're watching those 6 quarters of football, I find it hard to believe that you would say, yeah, I'll give up a first or second round pick for that guy. Now, maybe there's a team that loved him coming out of the draft, although you could argue that if they did, they would have taken him then in the first 26 picks of the draft before the Packers did. But, I think the best case scenario, if he's going to, play elsewhere, which if I'm him, I probably would want to be traded at this point. But I think the best case scenario is that he goes out and plays really well this summer in the preseason, and then, either doesn't have to play at all in the regular season, or if he does, plays much better. And then a year from now is when, maybe the value for him would be a little higher. But, but like you said, going back to the year-to-year contract thing, if it is only one more year, then maybe he's fine with it. And look, Rodgers sat for 3 years. This is Jordan Love's third year. I know we're not used to seeing quarterbacks, especially first-round quarterbacks, sit for this length of time, but it's not unprecedented, especially here in Green Bay.
Last one for you, Rob. What's next for this team this offseason? What do they need to get over the hump?
Well, first of all, they need to get under the salary cap, and that's going to require them probably cutting guys like Zadarius Smith and maybe even Randall Cobb, maybe Mason Crosby, the kicker. But then they've got work to do re-signing guys. I mean, Devonta Campbell was maybe their most important defensive player last year, the inside linebacker. He's going to be a free agent here in a week. Rasul Douglas, the cornerback who made so many big plays, is going to be a free agent. And then, they still probably do need another weapon or two for Rodgers. And whether they get that, as a mid-price or bargain price free agent, maybe there's that. Same thing with tight end. Robert Tonyan tore his ACL last October. He may not be ready for the start of the season, may not be the same. So, I mean, they've got to add weapons. Remember when Rodgers said, if I come back, I don't want it to be a rebuild. I want it to be a reload. Well, they got to load up with a few more skill position guys, and then maybe they have a chance. And as you know, I mean, there are other areas of the football team that don't pertain to Rodgers that must get better, and that's special teams. Like we saw all those disastrous plays in the playoffs, and they've started to address that with a new special teams coordinator, but that's only half the battle. They've got to get better players on special teams. So, there's still a lot to be done, and it's not like they've got a ton of money and cap space to do it.
His name is Rob Demovsky. Check him out at ESPN NFL Nation, reporter for the Packers. Rob, it's always great to catch up with you. Be good, be well.